Well, I kind of like to think myself as someone who cares about and supports most of the indigenous, tribal, First Nations, whatever you want to call, the indigenous people of North America, South America, all over the world, really. So, and it, breaks my heart what happened to them, and I don't know, not really much I can say other than give it voice and read as much as I can. I've read extensively. I'm finishing a book called Covered in Night right now that kind of describes the Iroquois Nation and particularly the Seneca people and and several other tribes that were peripheral. Extremely interesting. Seven took place at 17 something, 22, something like that. But I think of these people like there's a lady on TikTok, and forgive me that I don't know her name. I should. She's out west. She's been driving around making TikTok videos, starting out with the people that were camped up in Canada, and then um, these loggers. She goes to these places out west where the businessmen um, are out there destroying the planet. Just clear cutting swaths of land for lumber, and it's pretty disgusting. And it's always disgusting. I mean, I can't stand all that stuff. Destroying the watershed, which hurts the water that flows into the lakes and the estuaries and fucks up the salmon populations. You know, again, white people or greedy people that don't give a shit. I don't know who's involved in it. So I think of a hero kind of lady like that, driving around, doing the best you can with very little money in an old pickup truck, begging for money from folks, you know, um, to help with food and stuff. They're, because of these big storms out west, a lot of people have, especially elderly tribal people, have been stranded out in the, they live a very rural life. So these people are going out trying to help. So there's all that kind of stuff going on, in the world. So then I turn around and I read this article, and it's about the Seminole Nation here in Florida and how they gave the DiSantos election campaign, almost or more than $5 million. That just really hurts, actually, because DeSantis was going to promise them that they could do some kind of gaming, sports betting or something in their couple of casinos they have here in Florida, and also the other bill that passed that DeSantis helped, pretty much gave them exclusive rights, and I think that had something to do with the Creeks. Up there in Atmore wanted to put a casino down somewhere on the, here actually, or west of us, and they had a fight about that. So the Seminoles won that. So DeSantos is in with this. To me, looks like another group of gangsters, and I'm not saying the whole Seminole Nation or the Mezasukis. I don't know how involved They, that blending of cultures. The Seminoles went down there, and the Megasuki tribe was already there, so they took them in, and they intermarried and did everything else. Now I know there's still a few hundred Seminoles that live, pretty close to the old ways out in the Everglades. I'm certainly not talking about them. I mean, I hope they're getting a little bit of a stipend from all this gambling, crap that's happening. And what the Seminoles did was they bought the uh, Hard Rock logo. Kind of like it would be like, you know, Trump doesn't really own a bunch of buildings. They just pay for him to put his name on it. That's probably going to be happening too much longer. But it's just disappointing, you know. And the contrast is here's these, the power brokers of the Seminole tribe, just greedy as any white people. That the natives people are always complaining about. Yeah, and I agree. I mean, I'm not saying that white businessmen aren't just like vicious assholes, because they are, for the most part. Not all of them, but giant percentage. So, Hard Rock. I used to go to the Hard Rock in my travels when my wife and I would go on long trips. We always tried to orchestrate it so we would go to, indigenous casinos, and we would go. Biloxi didn't really have one, but there was a Hard Rock there, and we knew that the Seminoles, owned the rights to that. So by participating in that, we were our money was going towards the Seminole tribe, which we were proud to do. Not anymore. I'm not going to do that anymore. The Seminole tribe's going to be the one tribe I don't participate in any of their stuff anymore. If they can participate, if they can give $5 million to a fascist dictator and do backdoor, backstabbing deals, that, I'm no big fan of the Creeks either, and I can see why if they go back to the history, when Andrew Jackson came down here, I believe that was in the first Seminole Wars, can't remember, but the Creeks scouted for him, hunting the Seminoles. So I guess if you go back that far, which isn't that far, it's 150 years, 170 years maybe. It's really not that long ago, 3, 4, or 5 generations, 4 generations. I can see people still talking about that even. But, well, never been a big fan of the Porch Creeks at all. I used to go there because they had a lovely casino, and you could drink beer there. And, there were some native casinos where you can't drink, or they have designated areas where you can drink, and then you have to pay a lot of money. It just depends on where you go. The Choctaw casino in, I believe it's in Durant, Oklahoma, and they have a beautiful casino. And on that same property, they have like a dispensary, kind of hospital, whatever they call that, where you can go in and get blood work and probably see a physician, and I believe that's free for tribal members. Plus, they get a stipend every month. So there's a lot of good that comes out of all that gambling stuff, I think, if it's managed properly. But this Seminole thing, whatever. Yeah. We were probably going to try to get one more trip in down to Key West before our, we just can't drive anymore. It's not going to be that much longer for me because of my eyesight and my hearing, but, um, you know, I still probably have another, don't get me wrong, I still probably have another 10 years, I hope. That'd be good. 10 years of an old man wandering around in traffic. Okay, great. That's really all I had to say. It just was so freaking disappointing to read all this crap. And then the cherry on top of the whole thing is that here's Joe Biden being so magnanimous with funds for the Hurricane Ian thing. You know, I don't even know how much they really got affected, but they sure got some funds and some money out of Joseph Biden, the best president that we've had since FDR, and he might really go down in history as being the best president. He's done more for the American people in 2 years than I've seen anybody do in the last 30 years. Except for Republicans destroying what, we've built as Americans in this country because they don't like it for some reason. Because the black people get too much out of the deal, or the indigenous people get too much out of the deal unless they're Seminole gangsters. And no, here's another little thing. We were up at the, I believe it was one of the casinos up around right outside of Santa Fe, about halfway between Santa Fe and Buffalo Thunder. That was it. And I remember coming down to the elevator, and that was a beautiful casino. I wanted to play golf there so bad, and the weather was perfect. Middle of the summer in August, and probably the high never got maybe about 80, because it's up about 5,000 feet or more. So the weather's perfect in the middle of the summer. So I'm coming out, got up the elevator, and I go into the main lobby, and here's a couple of businessmen. I mean, they're probably wearing, I don't know, thousands of dollars worth of clothing. And here's this native cat, obviously a Pueblo. He has long hair, but it's tied up in a golden like band, gold. He's wearing a gold lame suit, a nice one, and you could tell it was like an Italian silk, shirt. Really expensive shoes, like alligator type, and gold jewelry. And I'm looking at him, I'm thinking, I didn't see any turquoise on him, any traditional, what you would usually see on a Pueblo man or a Zuni man or a Navajo man, So, again, the first thing came to my head, okay, here's some rich, executive for this Pueblo casino, and, dressing up like a freaking gangster, hanging out, with these businessmen, So, and again, nothing to do with the Pueblo people, that are living their day-to-day lives. It's just like most Americans are just trying to get along, go to work, of any, whatever degree of melanin is in their skin. Um, but there's just some real corrupt ones, isn't there? At the top that want money. Anyway, that's enough of that talk. Um, I'm going to talk about these couple of, as I've been reading, the only books I've read, like in the last couple of years, have only been histories um, and written by indigenous writers. And the Covered in Night is a great book, but the one I read before that, which is had something to do, the title of it had something to do with the Wounded Knee, but it wasn't. It was actually written by an Anishinaabe man from the Mendonite, the rice eaters up in northern Minnesota. That's all I know that's what they do. And when rice season comes around, and they leach. Mennonite. No, I can't think of it. Great book though. Every American should read that book. Um, anyway, that's enough of this crap. Rambling on again. Um, Adios. And boy, and it's not just